Thank you so much for being here and taking some of your incredibly precious moments to grow love together. So I'm Christine Eartheart.
And I'm Bret Eartheart. We're the founders of the Center for Thriving Relationships. And we're just so grateful that you're here. And we're just going to power pack this time that we have together so that you feel like you have even more ability, more capacity to serve the people that you hold dear in your life, in your own goals, in your relationships, and to be a better coach in the world if you are inspired to do that kind of work.
Yeah, it is truly such an honor and such a joy to get to share these moments with you. And it says so much about you if you are here. Truly, any bit that we grow our own relationship just ripples out to impact all the other relationships in our lives. So we're going to share our screen here with you because we are going to be going over the 5 keys to getting powerful results as a relationship coach. Again, though, you can really use these tools for your own relationship as well as for loved ones. So whether you want to do this professionally or just, when you see a couple in your life and maybe they're struggling in some way and you realize like, oh my goodness, they love each other so much. And yet they just seem to continually get into the same kind of challenges. And it can be so painful to watch that. And so when you see that, to actually know how you can effectively support them is so meaningful and so fulfilling. So welcome, everyone. All right, so 5 keys to getting powerful results as a relationship coach. Who is excited?
We're just in awe how, we've kind of been able to form this global community of people that are really just trying to be those better versions of ourselves and to expand love on the planet. So, let's see. Where are they from?
Where are they all from? All right. So you are in, so just be chiming in there. Oh, so wonderful. Okay, awesome. Indy, Oregon, Texas, Chicago, Bloomington. So wonderful. Yeah, feel free just to keep chiming in there. So you are in the right place if you want to feel more empowered, more confident, and equipped to help couples. So again, if you are someone who really believes in love, you believe in what's possible, I know for me, when I'm like watching one of those movies, and you're like, they love each other so much. If they could just communicate, people miss each other, they go the opposite way. That happens in real life all the time too. So if you just see that, and you just, when you're connecting with friends, you want to know, okay, I know more is possible here, and I want to know how to really support you. This is for you. And certainly if you want to do this professionally, if you're, already in a profession where you see couples and you want to know how to support them in a way that's even more meaningful, and really, really helps them heal and transform their lives. And if you want to feel more fulfilled, it's so meaningful, so satisfying to know that you have helped alleviate suffering and helped light the pathway that connects people's hearts. You are definitely in the right place. And the beautiful thing about this work, as we learn how to, support others more effectively, of course, every relationship in our own life is really enhanced and uplifted from it.
And we want happy endings to all the movies. Our own movie, everybody's movie.
True. Yeah. So true. All right. Wonderful. And if you want to create this amazing lifestyle, we're going to be going over as well. We're just going to be packing this full of tools that we hope deeply support you in your own relationship and in anyone else that you support. And then at the end, we'll also go over those of you that are intrigued about the idea about being a certified relationship coach. We're also going to share more, if that is something that lights up your heart, how you can make that dream come true.
Yeah. So what we're going to learn today is the 5 keys to getting powerful results as a relationship coach. The number one mistake of couples who end up getting divorced. What most well-intentioned coaches and therapists do that ends up causing couples more harm than good, unfortunately. The fastest and easiest way to transform a relationship. How to reveal what's happening underneath the challenges that any couples face. The opportunity to join the next round of our Thriving Relationship Coach certification program, if that's anything that you're interested in.
Yes, yes. And at the end, we'll share to those of you that are inspired to take the next step. There will be a special bonus for those that stick around until the end. So here are a few pictures of our family here. Here's one with our son, Mayan, who is back living at home with us right now. He's returned to school right now, and such a gift to have him back home, and we just adore him and are so very connected to him. And then our 3 rescue pups, Lovebug, Snuggabella, and Wonder Boy. And we love feeling deeply connected to the people in our lives. If you were here, we'd probably want to give you a great big hug if you were a hugger, and wish we could just sit down and hear so much about your own heart and your own family and life. And we've been together 2 decades now.
That's right.
Which is really extraordinary.
20 years.
I know. Amazing. So we just want to share with you. Many of you are probably familiar with our story, but if this is the first time that we've gotten to meet, we want to share with you a little bit about our own journey, because it reflects so much what moves us to do this work, and what is kind of that choice point or that turning point for so many couples in that ripe, opportunity when they oftentimes reach out for support is a moment very much like the one that we had. So 15 years ago, we were sitting on the couch one night, a night that we'll never forget. And we turned and faced each other and realized this relationship is no longer bringing out our best. We had a very sparkly, magical start to our love story. Relationships don't need to start like that, but there was a real homecoming when we got together. But that wasn't enough for us to avoid the inevitable challenges that happen in any relationship. And so even though there are many wonderful moments, we also found ourselves getting stuck in repetitive issues. And we really began to think that we were incompatible, that our differences were just too great, that they were going to be a source of continual conflict. And we just found ourselves having that same conversation over and over again. At that point, we didn't realize that every couple has that conversation they have over and over again, but we didn't really know the way out. And so we realized we had 3 options that one defining night on the couch, that we could really bless each other on our separate paths, realizing that our relationship served a purpose, but really to be our best selves and live our greatest lives meant going our separate ways. Option 2 was to kind of keep doing things how we'd always done them and hope that they would get better. But then we realized, okay, it's probably 5 years from now and we're going to be in the same place again. So we realized that probably wasn't a great option, to do nothing and just hope maybe it'll get better. And then our other option was to really dive in and learn everything we possibly could about how to have a thriving relationship, because we both had done lots of personal growth work. We were longtime meditators and had gone to lots of individual workshops, but we had never really learned and studied relationships, which we discovered is an entirely different skill set and roadmap. We consider ourselves kind people, self-aware people relatively, and yet it was so humbling, because relationships are unique in their ability to bring absolutely everything to the surface. So any unconscious fears, any old wounds, any patterns that aren't serving us, any part of us that's unconscious comes out into the light, where it either creates a lot more suffering, or if we look at it, really becomes the greatest opportunity for healing and growth and awakening and all those beautiful, profound things. So that was our defining night. Fortunately, we chose path 3, and how do we not? I look back on it and it would have been the biggest mistake of my entire life. And so we started, we just ordered this big stack of books and courses and devoted every Friday night was our conscious date night. And we would study and learn. And we were like, oh my goodness, everything suddenly makes sense. It was like the lights got turned on. And we never imagined that we would be doing this professionally, but we all of a sudden started creating the relationship that we had always dreamed of and knew we really had to share this.
Yes, good. And so we figured out at that point, that we were kind of making a big mistake, and that, we had done all this personal growth work on ourselves, individually, kind of doing, our healing work. And so, we thought we had a lot of stuff figured out. And what we didn't realize is that, as on the individual growth plane, right? You could have your PhD, but then when you get in relationships, it's like you're starting over at kindergarten. And not entirely, but mostly. And we were trying to figure things out on our own. and we just lacked like a basic skill set. And with relationships now, like our expectations are higher than ever, and that's mostly a good thing. And we wanted something great, and we weren't going to be satisfied with anything less. And we needed to really create a whole new skill set within ourselves to do that. And so that's when we kind of went on this search for, it's like, oh, it's like we know the information's out there and we're gonna find it, right? So like we got so passionate about it.
Yes, yes, yes. And what happens so often in relationships when we are attempting a strategy that isn't working, when that isn't working, we're like, okay, I'm going to do that same thing even more, which then works even less. And so humbling in that way. So yeah, those are the things that didn't work. And now that we feel so passionate really about saving couples from so much of the pain and suffering and disconnect. It's really the area of life when you ask people like, what's most important? It's our relationships. And so often our most intimate relationship is the most important part, and yet also where people suffer so much. So as we went on this journey, kind of diving into the heart of relationships, the science of relationships, so when I was young, I used to love playing school. Anybody else out there loved to play school growing up? So I had these imaginary students, or my brother and sister would kindly agree to be the students. And I loved creating worksheets. I would go to like teacher schools, and it was like a high, like all the stickers and the things to decorate bulletin boards. So I never pursued that as a career in this way, but I've like fallen in love. Now I love to support and empower people in other ways like this. And so I have just fallen in love with creating tools and methodologies that make it really, really clear. Because what we found when we went to couples retreats around the country and got support is that we would have these moments of insight and breakthrough, but then we were like, what did we just learn? And so by giving couples really concrete tools, it just solidifies the learning. And so it allows it to really stick and for them to really carry this whole skill set with them for a lifetime. So we have now developed over 50 tools that we have tested and refined literally thousands of times and believe in with all of our hearts to truly get results. And they're ones that saved our own relationship, have transformed our relationship. It's really what we do on a daily basis. This is our greatest living laboratory, and what we've had the great honor and privilege of sharing with thousands of clients. And we have been doing this work now for well over a decade, Bret and I both, for well over 15 years, seeing individuals. And then we just really fell in love with supporting couples because, again, it's in the context of relationships that we can experience such tremendous healing, because everything comes to the surface. And it's really so much of our pain, originated in moments of disconnect in our relationships, moments of pain in relationships. And so then when we can create a conscious relationship, so much healing can happen. So we had our own private practice that really filled with a wait list, and we knew we wanted to keep serving more couples.
Yeah. And our practice was full, like our people were getting on our wait list. And at this point, it's just Christine and I. And even when we first started our private practice, we were both seeing couples together. And that's actually when we developed, most of our kind of the concepts and tools that we, teach today. We did together. And it was so much fun to do that together. But then it's like, oh my gosh, like we got too many clients to see together. So then like we had to like split up and, just work with couples, each one of us. And then we ran out of capacity to do that. And then, we really knew that we wanted to like leverage our impact in the world, right? It's like our mission in life is to maximize the love and connection on this planet. And so it's like the coach certification program was just like the next step, right? It made so much sense.
Yeah. So what we found is that we wanted to expand our teams. We started training some counselors and coaches to use this methodology, and they were just getting these really phenomenal results. And so people were asking us, can you teach this? And so we're so grateful and so excited and truly believe in this. And it just lights up our hearts. Every day we wake up, truly, Bret and I are like, there's just nothing in the world we would rather do than this. I am a firm believer that there is a pathway between nearly every single human heart on the planet, and to actually be equipped with the flashlight that can light that path and open that pathway, because we are hardwired to be social creatures. And so much of our pain happens when we feel disconnected, and so much opens up when we feel connected. So we then developed the Thriving Relationship Coach certification program, and we are so inspired and so moved and touched by the graduates and the students that are now out there, and they are doing this work and they're like, oh my gosh, it works. So people that have no background in coaching whatsoever, they're doing these big career changes, or who are therapists and they have been trained how to work with individuals, but didn't really know how to work with couples. But really a lot of people that they've done a little coaching or no coaching whatsoever. And that's what we love so much about having the roadmap, is that not only can anybody apply it to their own relationship, but when you have a guide kind of navigating the way with you, and you're equipped with these really concrete tools, it's amazing how exhilarating and fulfilling it is, and how empowering it is, because it really is like, this formula to get these really remarkable results. So we knew we had to share this. And here's a picture from our wedding day.
Yeah, it was such a wonderful day.
It was a magical day.
It was a magical day in our lives. So, and so this is us, and so I've been a psychotherapist and a life coach and a workshop facilitator. I've been doing actually facilitating personal growth work for close to 30 years now, actually. And all my experience before we started working with couples, just really felt like a preparation, to be effective in working with couples. And, it's just really the greatest honor, to do this work. I mean, those of you that are considering doing this work and, thinking that, hey, maybe this would be really satisfying work. I just want to reinforce that, because, like again, like Christine said, like every morning we wake up, it's like, wow, I just can't imagine doing anything else.
Yes. So just to be assured, we are lifelong students here at Earth School, just like every other human. And just to be assured that the things that we're sharing aren't things that we just discovered today. It's really, we've had the great privilege of supporting thousands of couples and students, and these things really, really work, and we found to make such a difference. And thank you so much, everyone's here and chiming in. So happy to see people we know and love and adore. So good to have you here. Yeah. All right, so let's do.
Did that say, someone said, I'm a Mexican in Singapore. And so I saw Quebec in there. I just love how this is really a global community. I'm so touched by that.
I just feel like we're wrapping a big blanket of love around the world. So if you are someone who is currently supporting couples, so there are lots of professions where you have couples come to see you and you realize your own skill set. So certainly if you are a therapist, a counselor, if you are already doing some coaching with people or healing work in some way, and you know how to support individuals, you're like, gosh, people are asking me things about their relationships that they kind of want to bring their partner in, and how do I support them? Or maybe you're just intrigued about how you could really embark on this whole new career, and you're wondering, like, what kinds of support do people need when it comes to their relationship? So it's really the full range. So some couples, they have a lot of love there, and they realize, like, goodness, we're just more like roommates or business partners, co-parents. We're kind of just surviving and going through the motions. We've really lost touch with the spark, with the pure joy of being together on this great adventure of life. And so they just want to really renew their love, deepen their love. And they realize, like, this life is so precious, and we don't want to look back at the end regretting that we just got stuck in those patterns. It could be that couples really want to communicate better. On our intake form, that is probably the number one reason that people say they reach out for support.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yes.
We hear that all the time. Yeah.
And the amazing thing is that so often couples start, having conflict about how they're communicating about the issue rather than the issue itself. And so once they come in a session or two, and they can actually hear each other and what's going on underneath it, which we're going to go into, so much opens up, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've just never heard you speak about it. I've never felt so heard before. And then the issue can be resolved so much more readily. So communication is big. It can become very gridlocked in long-term love.
Yeah, we work lots of couples who are, with in a family with small children, and that tends to be a time where the logistics, kind of the needs of the kids are so intense that we kind of lose each other, or when couples are entering that empty nester stage, that's often a time where it's like, okay, our kids aren't here any longer, and who are we now? Like who have we become to each other? And it's a time to rediscover, the next, or to create the next chapter of the marriage.
Indeed. Yeah. Maybe it's a couple that they've just discovered an affair, or there's been some deep hurt or betrayal. And so there's a lot of repairing of trust and restoring connection in the relationship. So those are the moments. And, we're going to go over that being actually one of the keys. It really is how we redefine that, help couples really redefine that moment and create an empowering meaning around it for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And as thriving relationship coaches, right, we also support people who are actually doing well and want to keep their growth edge alive, always want to be just taking things to the next level. And so they're really, have the wisdom to be growing preemptively. And so they're growing through pleasure instead of being motivated to grow because of pain.
Yes, yes, yes. Maybe they're preparing for marriage. That's a really meaningful time. Really, any stage of the journey is a moment that a couple can strengthen their relationship, and they probably are only experiencing a small fraction of who they're really capable of being together. All right, so let's go over the 5 keys to getting powerful results as a relationship coach. Who's excited? Okay, key number 1. And hello from Adelaide, South Australia.
Oh, Christine spent time there.
Adelaide has a very, very special place in my heart.
Yeah. So key number 1, reframe their challenges and give them hope. So you will have those couples coming in that are doing well. It's not rare, but it'll be a minority of the couples that come to work with you. And, a fairly large percent of couples are coming in a very stressed state, and giving them hope, giving, them, your confidence. It's like, hey, I'm here to help you. Like, I'm part of your team now. We're going to do this, right? We're going to make things amazing. Giving them that hope is so important. That's like where you see what's possible for them, right? It's like you're presenting this image, this vision of a thriving relationship that they can't even see. Like they know they want it, somewhere in here, but they're feeling hopeless, and they're feeling, kind of like, dashed against the rocks, a bit, because probably they've been experiencing conflict, and they have kind of too many negative interactions that have been going on probably for an extended period of time. So just giving them that huge influx of hope is like where we want to start.
Yeah, it's so true. So here are the kind of 5 predictable stages of a thriving relationship that we went through, that really any couple that stays together long enough, this is going to be inevitable. We are very positive, optimistic people. And yet when a couple first comes together and they're so excited and they're so hopeful, which we celebrate with them, and they're like, gosh, everything's so easy. We just communicate so well. It's just so much easier than any of my other relationships. That is so beautiful and so real. And it's only a matter of time. It really isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when the couple is going to get into challenges. And this is a beautiful thing. Conflict is growth wanting to happen. So again, it's bringing things to the surface that we then get to work with and be awakened by, and open our hearts even more fully, through the process of really transforming, whatever the conflict is. So there's the romance stage. So that's when we easily see somebody's best. We give them our best. We're full of hope and enchantment, and we give without keeping score. We want to to woo them. It's such a beautiful stage. It's so real. In some ways, we can see our partner even more clearly in that stage because it's not getting filtered through our own fears. And in other ways, it doesn't really last because we also have a whole bunch of chemicals rushing through our body, and our brain, sees things in a slightly skewed way.
Yeah. So inevitably, right, that romance stage, kind of the euphoric cocktail of neurotransmitters that create that romance stage kind of come back down towards normal. And that's, when the power struggle stage starts, to appear in moments. And, how we deal with those power struggle moments early on in a relationship really sets us on a trajectory of how we deal with our power struggle. And, often, right, it's like we don't deal with it well, we don't manage it well. And it ends up creating this dynamic that, we experience way too often where, we both have needs that are coming into conflict with each other. And then, and instead of like kind of making each other a priority, which, right, that's what relationships are about. It's like, hey, we're in this together and we got each other's back, and hey, let's like really work together to get both our needs met at a high level, right? Where just those needs are in conflict because we're, both feeling hurt and in a state of scarcity.
For sure. And then we tend to react. So we kind of call these relationship poisons. They're just strategies we use to get our needs met. But when our partner maybe blames or criticizes, we maybe get defensive or stubborn or shut down. So we're just like reacting back and forth. And what we want to do is really uncover, of course, the preciousness that's underneath these patterns that we fall into. But in the power struggle, it just feels like either you win or I win. We both don't get to win. There's a lot of being more committed to being right than being close and happy. And it can also be really discouraging because the very thing we fell in love with, suddenly we're looking at the reverse side of it. So maybe you fell in love with your partner. They were so laid back and easygoing. And then on the flip side, you're like, oh my gosh, they're so unmotivated or boring or whatever it might be. Or maybe you fell in love with your partner being really dynamic. And on the flip side, you're like, oh my gosh, they're so overbearing. And so that's what happens in the power struggle stage. And so that can be a tough moment. And this is the key moment. This is the key, is as the relationship coach, is that we are redefining what that moment is. So very often when we're in that moment, we really think, well, this is a dead end. If it's this hard, surely it isn't meant to be. Rather than, as coaches, what we get to do is normalize, like, oh my gosh, you made it. This is an unavoidable part of coming into relationship with another human, especially the closer and closer we get to someone, the more and more impact they have on, our feelings and our own needs. And we start to see them as someone who, is going to determine whether or not we get our needs met. So the more that happens, the more it's going to bring up the scared parts of us ultimately. And so we get to redefine that moment as totally valid, totally normal. They are not doomed. They are like every other couple on the planet. And it's only stage 2. And on just the other side of that is the commitment stage. And this is the moment that we made on the couch that night, that couples that come to see you, we get to celebrate them for this, because the moment someone reaches out for support, they don't necessarily know the way. Usually they don't know the way, but what they know is that maybe something more is possible than we've tapped into. And so they get to make this commitment, like, let's at least, before we go our separate ways, let's at least dive in and do everything we can to really see if we can have this thriving, healthy, dynamic, conscious relationship. So that commitment is so amazing when both people start to get curious, like, I wonder what I could do differently in order to love you, more effectively.
Yeah. So in the commitment stage, it's like we're, those needs that we're in conflict with each other, right? In the commitment stage, we have a different mindset. It is you have needs and I have needs. And, let's like engage, let's love each other and engage in this like creative process where everybody's needs here get met. And hey, like we're just going to recommit to doing the right thing, and instead of like keeping score, we're just both kind of recommitting, re-entering this relationship with a generous heart for each other. And so that commitment stage, yeah, it's all about like getting that right mindset, right? That takes us out of the power struggle and, back into the working together, like being allies and teammates. And, we're looking at like what I'm doing that creates or contributes to the situation, not blaming the other person for that. And when I'm doing that, then it's like I recognize in myself, oh, wow, I really need to grow in these certain ways for this relationship to thrive. And now we're in the growth stage, right? Now we're doing the work. People say relationships are a lot of work. And I would actually change that to relationships are a bit of work. And I am a lot of work. Like for me to be able to show up in this relationship, and to set it up for success and to thrive, like I'm a lot of work. And that's where I need to be putting my resources, my focus, my effort is in me growing in the ways, right, that ensures this relationship's going to thrive. And if we put in like enough growth, enough effort, then inevitably we're at that thriving stage. And that's where we all want to be. And we're going to be frustrated if we're not there, or at least moving in that direction. Rightly so, because we know it's possible. And, we just need that roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. So these 5 stages really create this framework that you can introduce to your clients right at the beginning. So again, you're normalizing their power struggle. This is not the dead end. It might feel miles apart, but they are actually so often way closer than they realize. They just need a different way of showing up in their relationship. So I'm going to normalize that. We want to celebrate them for their commitment, for being there, for reaching out for support in any way that they are. And then we want to assure them there is a proven roadmap that most of us have just never learned anywhere. Most people did not have the greatest role models. Maybe there were bits and pieces that they'd want to mirror that they saw their caregivers do. Other people are like, oh, I want to do the opposite of what they did. And a lot of us just kind of fumbling in the dark a little bit through trial and error. And so assure them like, oh my goodness, there is a roadmap. It makes it so much easier. And I am here. So you get to show up for them as the relationship coach to kind of light the way. And so rest assured, if you are just committed, if you have a growth mindset, then you will really be in awe of what becomes possible and available. And so getting to assure them that there is hope because you are there on the journey with them to really get them to that thriving place, which is the best of the romance stage, combined with deep safety and trust and loving the whole person, not just those shiny parts on the outside, and really having this compelling vision of where we're going together, and getting to really learn to love all these parts of our own selves that we've repressed and suppressed over time. So you get to give them a whole lot of hope, which is so meaningful. That's one of the things when after the first session, we're working with a couple and we usually ask them before they leave, kind of what's their takeaway from that session. And so often it's one of the things like, oh my goodness, I thought there was no hope. I know I love, my partner so much, but I just didn't know what to do. And now I actually feel excited. I feel inspired. I feel so much hope, and they feel so much more connected. So it's such a deeply meaningful thing you can offer.
Yeah. So we're helping them reframe conflict to, instead of represent like, you don't like each other, or you're not a good fit, it really means, oh, there's like a lack of emotional connection here. Right. There's a lack of your relationship, getting, these best parts of you and getting like the resources that it needs to thrive.
Yes, absolutely. And, a lot of people meet Bret and I now, and we're actually different in a lot of ways. And there's certainly, parts of us that you might experience are really maybe on a more soulful level, just really kind of in sync. And I just want to assure you, that was one of the things that we questioned, like, are we too different? And now it's so true. Our differences harmonize in ways that I wouldn't want it any other way. And so the reason I'm sharing that is that this is part of like the reframing, is that compatibility is something that is created. It is consciously created. It doesn't happen just by luck or because we meet our soulmate. We consciously create it. It's a wonder that we can really co-create life with another human that has a different perspective and their own needs and feelings and all these things they're bringing to the relationship. And so learning how to bring those together in a way that they really support one another, that we get to hold on to ourselves and also co-create something together, more magnificent than we ever could on our own, that requires some real co-creation, and then it's really amazing what opens up. So that is key number one, to really reframe their conflict. And so it's an opening and an invitation. All right. And again,
key number two, create secure attachment. And attachment theory is a necessary part or area to understand if we're going to work with couples. It is so critically important. It really just totally changes how we see relationships. So we really need to have this attachment lens through which we see the couples that we're working with. Or to see myself or my partner or my family members. I just can't stress that enough. It should be those required fundamentals for anybody working with couples or being in a relationship. And so attachment theory is the notion that we're social animals, and that we, need these very deep, bonded, safe, relationships that we can really count on in our life in order to have good mental health, and health actually in general. So, relationships, do affect us on all levels, and attachment explains kind of why that happens, how that happens, especially when you pair it with polyvagal theory. And in our coaching program, we go so deep into these things, and it's so cool to learn. But we have this deep wired in need to be in partnership, to have all these a dynamic small but robust number of relationships that are in our life. And it's hard for me to talk about this because I want to talk about it for 3 hours. It's hard to just talk about for 2 minutes.
Attachment theory, when applied to adult relationships, explains so much. And this is really, one of the innocent mistakes that we see people make in their own relationship, and certainly people that are supporting couples. And we went to one of our early on trainings that we did. The emphasis was so strongly on taking personal responsibility, which is an amazing, important component to a thriving relationship, is looking at, okay, how am I creating this? How can I show up differently? So important. And it really missed this piece of attachment, which is also, underneath my partner's kind of behavior right now, what are they really longing for? And if I only respond with that must be something from your past that you need to clean up, and I'll just be over here when you're ready, it's just going to create even more attachment wounding, when instead we can realize oh my goodness, they are just crying out for love and connection right now. And they're having this sort of primal panic that is coming up because they feel, this loss of connection. And instead I get to actually lean in and be a source of support for them and stay emotionally engaged and be responsive and emotionally accessible for them. That is going to calm their nervous system, open their hearts, and we're going to be able to stay connected. And so it can, again, so innocently, but do so much harm if we don't realize this piece. So here are just some myths we want to debunk, which is that a healthy, mature adult is not supposed to need emotional connection. And unfortunately, this is out there. I think, things are changing now that attachment is such the buzz these days in the world of psychology. But it is so important that we let that myth go. It is a healthy, beautiful, magnificent part of the human experience that we need each other. We want to be so connected to ourselves and also lean into being in relationship.
The myth that we should be fully self-sufficient. And I mean, this is really narcissistic thinking, right? That, a narcissist would, tend to probably believe this. And that just shows us like how like askew society had gotten going down that individualistic road. We've had a much, needed kind of comeback from that, of realizing that it's like, oh, well, it is possible to be enmeshed or codependent, and to like stunt our individual development. That's possible. We occasionally do see it. The vast majority of the time, what we see is that, people need, safer, deeper, connection in their lives, and like they really need an expansion of the relationships that in their lives. So.
Yeah. And another myth we have here is that it's strong not to show our emotions, and admirable not to need anybody. So we want to let that go. Emotional connection is really at the heart, of a thriving relationship. And so this is a really important key as someone that supports couples, is begin to put on your attachment glasses. And when there's conflict, it's really easy, especially when so if you're in a session with a couple and maybe somebody is, they're being really agitated. And if we just focus on them needing to change their tone, all those things, which are actually also very important. And if we miss underneath it, they actually don't feel safe right now. They're having, this physiological response that they're just so terrified. Or if a partner begins to shut down and we're just beginning to maybe judge their behavior and think like, oh, you just need to turn towards your partner, to realize like, oh, some part of them doesn't feel safe to actually engage right now. And so we want to look at conflict. If you look at any conflict in your life, but you just to get curious, like, in the moment of conflict, was I feeling connected? Probably not. Were we in a moment of feeling really emotionally engaged? Probably not. It's because there's been something that has severed that. And so that's what we want to look at, because once we can reestablish secure attachment, then we begin to look at one another so much more as our ally rather than our adversary. And we just feel safe and relaxed. We can so much more naturally have empathy, see our partner's best intentions, all those ingredients that really contribute to having a strong, healthy relationship. We need to first feel fundamentally safe and securely attached. That is so key. Otherwise, we can get very dysregulated, and we can just judge our partner for being dysregulated rather than realizing, oh, that's what they are. They're just dysregulated because they don't feel safe and emotionally connected.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. So here are some really wonderful questions. Big thanks to Dr. Sue Johnson, who has inspired these questions. But these are the ones for your own relationship and for any couples that you support that will allow you to see, like, okay, is there secure attachment right now? And this works for friendships, family relationships, really across the board. And again, when we don't feel securely attached, that's when we feel a little bit more on edge, and we don't feel a sense of calm and relaxation. But then when we feel these, this is when life gets really good.
Yes, when we're assessing for attachment, these are prime questions to ask of couples. Yeah, can I count on you?
Yeah, are you there for me?
Will you respond to me when I need you?
Do I matter to you?
Am I valued and accepted by you?
And do you need me? So not only do we need other people, we also have a longing to feel needed. It creates more secure attachment. So there's, again, so much that we could cover about secure attachment. It's one of our greatest passions, and we certainly do a deep dive in this in our Thriving Relationship Coach certification program. But a really important key, as someone that supports couples, is to make sure that you're well versed in this, because here are some of the many benefits of when a couple is securely attached.
Yeah, so it really improves every aspect of our health: mental, emotional, physical. Because when we're securely attached, then our body can be in a completely relaxed state. And that's the state that we need to be in, right, for our body to do all, of its kind of, healthy maintenance, work. And that's the state, of course, where it's like our mind is going to be, at its best, not worried, not stressed.
Yeah, it provides safe haven from the storms of life. And so if you're not securely attached, one of you might be going through a really stressful time and you're like, oh, why are you in such a bad mood? But when there's a stressful time and you're securely attached, you get to really be there for one another. You feel like, oh my goodness, there is this person that fully has my back in life, that is right by my side, that is with me in it. And that just changes everything.
Offers emotional protection, strength, and resilience.
It decreases overall stress and anxiety.
Improves ability to seek and give support.
It enables co-regulation. So co-regulation is essentially when our own nervous system can lean on the nervous system of someone else and sync up with it. So if you've ever been stressed and then you like snuggled an animal and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so comforting. You're actually co-regulating with the animal. Or, if you've ever been doing some sort of project and it's kind of stressful, maybe you're trying to put together, a couch or something that feels kind of stressful and overwhelming. And then you're like, can you just come over here and sit next to me while I do it? And it's like, oh my gosh, what seemed hard seems so much easier just by you being here. So that's co-regulation. It is really, really such a brilliant part of the human body that we can do that. I'll ask Bret, can we co-regulate right now?
Yeah, the old understanding of our nervous system was like, oh, like I have a nervous system, I need to, kind of regulate my nervous system. The new understanding of nervous system is it's like something that it's a collective nervous system of me and the people that I'm closest to. Right. So that's where, our mate selection is probably the most important decision we'll ever make in our life. Cause our nervous system is so connected, like we're co-regulating, for good or bad, all the time.
Yeah. So what we love supporting our, coaches in the program to do, and the couples that we are so honored to support, is how to self-regulate. So you bring that to the relationship, but also how to really effectively co-regulate and create secure attachment, because it makes such a difference. We're just less easily upset, for sure. Like, it doesn't even take effort when we're securely attached. We feel more connected, we're more flexible, confident. And here's the wonderful irony, is that it actually increases independence. So if you can just imagine a couple, when someone doesn't feel securely attached and their partner, they're out, maybe they had work and they went out with their friends and they're not feeling securely attached. They're probably much more likely to be texting their partner.
Where'd you go? Who are you with? What are you doing? Right. Those insecurities come up.
And they come home and they're asking them these questions. They're like, get off my back. But it's really, the solution is not just for them to get off their back. It's realizing that it's just a symptom of them not feeling securely attached. And so when we can create secure attachment beyond that moment, then those moments, we can just relax as we feel this deep sense of safety and connected, even when we're out doing our own things, because we really want both. We want independence and we also want deep connection. So that is so important. That is key number 2, is to support couples in establishing secure connection. So
key number 3, help them communicate to understand. We said that when couples come in, the number one reason why they say they want to get support and help is to have better communication. We know what that's code for. that's code for, nobody's listening. We're having 2 monologues with each other most of the time, or way too often. And, both of us are really playing stories and not focused on, communicating from our heart, but most importantly, like really listening to each other. One of the most important things that we do with our couples, the couples that we work with up front, is we teach them heart listening. It's so important to teach people how to listen, how to be present with each other. That's where communication really starts.
For sure. Otherwise, it's 2 monologues instead of a dialogue. And when we don't feel heard, then we just turn up the volume. We use more words, we use stronger words, we get louder, or we shut down. And so that's so important as, a coach, that we're really helping people have a conversation where they can both feel deeply understood. And so one of the, again, innocent mistakes that, someone supporting couples will make is they'll kind of be present. So having another third party, that in and of itself can be helpful. Although not always. If a couple just starts without any sort of tools or guidance, they'll start communicating about an emotionally charged subject. And then they're just going back and forth. And then there's a bit of amygdala hijack happening. They're kind of losing the ability to really have empathy. And so what we want to do is guide them through really concrete communication tools that helps get them out of their own head and drop into their partner's heart and actually understand what's happening underneath it. So we want to support them in learning how to communicate in a way that they both are really, really hearing each other. Because what happens when a couple just kind of goes back and forth, so much time and energy is spent just talking about how they're arguing. Like, well, you just did, you just shut down, or, oh, you're going to say that now, or like they're starting to dig up things from the past. So, and they don't even get to, whatever the challenge is. And when we can actually be calm and hear each other and be curious and collaborative and empathetic, then, oh my goodness, pathways open up where both people's needs can get met, but we won't even come close to that if a couple isn't communicating. And so that's one of the things that we believe so fully in as coaches, to be really equipped with incredible communication tools. So yeah, Bret mentioned heart listening. We've also designed this relationship breakthrough process, which is a way to kind of go through whatever the challenge is and uncover the many different layers happening underneath the surface, so that I'm not reacting to the surface, with my own reactions, because that just keeps getting us further and further away from what's actually there.
Yeah. So with communication, right, we're helping people be better listeners. And as soon as we start doing that, then we get this vibe of like, oh, hey, we're teammates again. Like, we're listening to each other. What you're saying is important to me. What I'm saying is important to you, right? We're getting curious about, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and vice versa. We're offering empathy before giving feedback. And there's so often these moments where we're going through something and we just really want our beloved to be there with us. We want it to be a shared experience, because we don't want to be alone, because we're social animals. And then one person, starts to share their experience with their partner, and their partner takes that as like, I need to fix this problem. And that's very seldom the case. So there's so many hacks and truths that we can quickly share with our clients that make such a profound difference, such a huge difference. And all of a sudden, the communication's good. Communication's great. We're communicating better than ever, right? We hear that all the time.
Yeah, what is so beautiful is that very often, and you probably had this experience before, after you kind of calm down and you're back in your heart, that when you hear what was actually going on for this other individual, it's like, oh, well, that makes so much sense. Like, okay, now I understand that. And then we get more willing to kind of come up with a solution with them. And so it's in the moments when we're not feeling heard and we're not communicating that we feel so far apart. And so once we can actually listen and communicate to deeply understand each other, we can save so much time and energy. So that is such an important key as a coach, is that you set up couples to hear each other in a whole new way. And we also put here an acronym that we've come up with that we find to be so invaluable for setting a conversation up for success when it comes to the speaker, is that we use the acronym BASE. But if we can lead whatever we're sharing, so maybe we have something, an unmet need or something we'd love to be different, if we can lead with first acknowledging our partners or someone else's best intentions, that's the B. A, find something also that we want to appreciate them for. So it's just kind of looking around the issue for some bit of goodness there. S is pointing out their strengths. So again, it's like flipping over the two-sided coin. So maybe we're really, feeling annoyed or frustrated because our partner didn't do the dishes. But on the reverse side is like, oh, I love that you actually, are so at peace, even in the midst of chaos. Like that's probably a really, really special, lovely part of them, which doesn't dismiss that you want to have the house orderly, but it also acknowledges them for the goodness inside of them. And then also offering empathy. I'm sure you were just really tired when you got home from work yesterday, and I understand that. So when we can begin with that base, this is just one little among many different communication tools. Someone feels so much more heard starting off. And so they're so much more likely then to hear their partner. So it's the feeling heard that creates secure attachment. And again, it just enables us to have effective, productive conversations about things. All right. So the first one, we want to redefine conflict and give couples hope and help them see possibilities. We want to look underneath the conflict to see there's probably just a lack of secure attachment. And how do we really address that? And then we want to help them communicate in a way that they can actually understand what's there. And this fourth key is very connected to that. This is a term that we came up with called wonder and look under. And it's part of what motivates us to do this work is that we feel like we're activists, really of kind of the human heart and activists of love. And when one of the great privileges of doing the work that we've gotten to do over the past many, many years is we've gotten to share some of the most intimate, vulnerable moments with other humans, and those things that we can so easily judge or make assumptions about that are maybe less appealing or attractive characteristics and qualities. When we have gotten to hear what's actually underneath it, we just fall in love with these humans, right? It's like, oh, well, of course, really, we all make sense. And so when we can, rather than reacting or judging what's on the surface, let's wonder and look under. I wonder what the story is around it. There is a reason that they're using that strategy to get a need met. And so this is one of the things that we oftentimes hear coaches in our program, that they just feel like their hearts have been cracked open and who they've become in it. They can just see every human with so much more empathy and compassion, which just frees us. We can experience so much more peace and so much more joy when we can practice wondering and looking under ourselves and everyone else, people at the grocery store, checkout, the car mechanic, whoever it is, there's so much underneath it that is so much more tender and so much more vulnerable. So here's some of the things we see on the surface.
Blame.
Criticism.
Punishing.
Staying in victim role.
Contempt.
Name calling.
Looking down on your partner.
Teasing.
Controlling.
Dominating.
Manipulating.
Physical or verbal aggression.
Pressuring your partner to do something they don't want to.
Gaslighting.
Valuing your ideas as more valid than your partner's because of your background.
Checking out physically, mentally, or emotionally.
Silent treatment.
Stonewalling.
Defensiveness.
Thinking you know it all.
Having to be right.
Unwillingness to change.
Stubbornness.
Resentment.
Using the past as weapons.
Secrets and dishonesty.
Not being honest with yourself. Pretending everything is okay.
Taking things personally.
Neglecting the relationship.
Not making each other a priority.
Lack of physical affection.
Keeping score of who does more.
Not following through.
Neglecting self-care.
And many more.
Yeah.
So we mentioned in the power struggle stage that, right, we're two people and we have needs. And in the power struggle stage, right, those needs are coming into conflict. And on the surface of that conflict are these poisons, right? I'm criticizing you for not caring about me. You're getting defensive and, telling, me that I can never do it good enough. And, then I'm expressing anger and contempt or frustration. And so whenever we're reacting to these poisons on the surface, we're in the power struggle. It's when we wonder and look underneath what's on the surface that all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, you have needs, I have needs, and let's work together to get those met. Right? Yeah.
Yes. So this is, we've all been there with these things on the surface. And so of course, there are more productive ways that we can get our needs met that we're teaching our clients. And we want to, begin by really recognizing what's underneath the surface. So a lot of these really it's a fear response. So as I mentioned before, the closer we are to someone, the more that we tend to perceive them as, they have great impact on whether or not our own needs get met, our needs for understanding, appreciation, for safety, for meaning and purpose and adventure and fun, so many things. And so when we feel like something really, really important to us is threatened, it tends to trigger a fear response and we go into fight. So some of those were more fights, maybe it was more dominating, controlling, being more aggressive, wanting to be right. Or we go into flight, which maybe is more kind of being withdrawn, shut down, kind of checking out. Freezing, if you get kind of tired, freeze, faint response, or fawning might be more of kind of pretending everything is okay and maybe saying yes when we really mean no. So a lot of these, this is just to have great compassion that, oh, there's just some scared part of us underneath the surface.
It can be really confusing when we find ourselves treating our partner worse than we treat anybody else. And it's because they're more important than anybody else. And that is confusing. And when we kind of see things through an attachment lens, when we see things through the important needs that we have, it really starts to make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much. So here are some ways that we can kind of be wondering and looking under. So again, we talked about how the conflict so often is about the issue here rather than what's actually underneath it. And so it could be their unmet needs. So we mentioned some of those. They're deeper fears. So they're fears of, I feel like I can't ever get it enough. I'm afraid that something's broken inside of me. I'm afraid you don't really love me. I'm afraid that I'm a bad person. I'm afraid you're going to leave me. I'm afraid that I'm losing myself. I'm afraid, that I'm never going to be happy. I mean, there are so many fears underneath the things we say and do that can sometimes really not match what we see on the surface. And this has been such a valuable part in our own relationship when we begin to name what we're scared of. Like, if Bret and I are in a moment of disconnect and Bret will actually share what he's scared of, like, like my heart just cracks open and I want to lean in, and it's like, it's so easy for us to miss that much more tender, vulnerable part that is as real as anything. And so that's part of really supporting couples, is helping them identify their own fears rather than being in reaction. Like, okay, when you initially ask a couple, what are you scared of? They might think like, I'm not scared of anything. And then invite them to go a little bit deeper. It's amazing what they'll really uncover underneath the surface. So there could be some deeper fear there, more vulnerable feelings.
Yes. Yeah. And there's this concept of raw spots that, we have these wounds within us. Like we all come into relationships with some baggage, with prior experiences, prior times that we were hurt in prior relationships, whether it's family origin or prior romantic relationships, prior marriages, and those woundings that we get in prior relationships, then those create raw spots in us. And it's these kind of unresolved wounds, right, that are still open. And this is, why we believe so strongly in the concept of the healing relationship. Because if we can have the corrective experiences together, that are, the healing opposite of those kind of woundings that we got in prior relationships, then we can actually heal those raw spots. But we're going to have some raw spots with each other that we kind of need to do that work with.
For sure. I saw a request for the previous screen. So we're also out with the replay, all the slides. So you'll be able to look at those. I'm so glad that it's helpful. I think maybe it was this one. So we'll send out the slides. So we'll make sure that you have everything there. I know we're going through these kind of quickly. So I want to make sure that you're fully supported with that. So yeah, so there's things, so these raw spots, deeper feelings. We might be expressing anger, but underneath it, we're really just, we feel so much guilt or so much shame or so much sadness. So we want to uncover all these things. And also unlived dreams. So often when a couple is in conflict, they're focusing on what's not working, what their partner's doing. And really there's like some precious, really gorgeous vision they have and a dream and a longing they've had. Like maybe they've longed just to have this really joyful relationship. And it's so devastating in those moments when they're not experiencing it. And so they're taking out on their partner, and it's, they're communicating it maybe in a way that is not very appealing to their partner, but actually underneath it, they just want it so much to experience this great relationship. So we're uncovering all these different things, and certainly their strengths and good intentions. We're looking underneath the surface, like, oh, there's more to it here. And so we want to become really skilled at doing this wonder and look under, and then really supporting our clients and teaching and coaching them how to do that for themselves and for one another as well. It fundamentally changes who we are, and it connects us so much more to our hearts so that we can reach other people's hearts. And when our kind of ego, our own judgment, we're gonna see their beautiful, precious ego, with our own. But when we can drop into our hearts, that's when we can really reach theirs.
Key number 5, grow the good. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people that aren't trained to work with couples effectively make. Actually, I just did a consultation today with someone who is just left a couples therapy experience. They'd been working with someone for a few months, and they said, that the sessions would just actually make things worse. And we hear this so many times. Really, if we had like a nickel for every time we've heard that, we would be very wealthy. And it's an understandable mistake, right? Because it's like the therapists or coaches out there who are working with couples, if they're not trained how to work with couples effectively, right? It's like, oh, let's talk about the problems, let's figure out those problems, and we're going to focus on the problems. And that is a disastrous approach to doing couples work. That is part of how to do effective couples work. But along with that, we have to have even more focus on growing the good.
Yes, indeed. Otherwise, if we're just focused on what isn't working, people walk out of a session, they're like, well, I knew this wasn't working, but now you just brought all this up, and oh my gosh, we're really a mess, and just feels like the issues get even bigger. And so we absolutely, we are advocates for addressing the issues, getting to the root of them, and we also want to really grow the good. So Dr. John Gottman, who's one of the leading research and pioneers in the world of relationships, he has discovered that we want to maintain this ratio, ideally of 20-1. So 20 positive interactions to every 1 negative. In a stressful time, we still want to maintain a ratio of 5 positive to 1 negative. So we have kind of this emotional bank account. We call it the love account. And every interaction we have, we're either putting in a deposit or we're taking out a withdrawal. And so when we have a lot of deposits going in, when our love account is full, then when a difficulty comes up or we want to navigate or find resolution around this kind of sticking point and our love account is full, we can communicate it so much more effectively. We can give each other the benefit of the doubt. We can hear each other. We can have empathy. We can feel like teammates, and we're getting collaborative together. When our love account is low and all we're doing is focusing on what isn't working, little things become big things, and we just are irritable, all of that. So we want to always be filling up. Like, it's amazing how many relationship challenges can be transformed just when we start reconnecting. So much more oxytocin starts flowing. We just like chemically start seeing our partner differently. And so pretty much every couple that reaches out, they are suffering from a low love account. And so we want to make sure, usually our recommendation that we'll share with you, that when we're working with a couple, we invite them, when you're not in sessions, your number one goal is to fill up your love account. And then when the difficult stuff comes up, save that for when you're in sessions with us so we can move through it with as much ease and grace and skillfulness as possible. And you actually have a breakthrough on the other side. It doesn't make it worse and then need repair. So you fill up your love account. And then in here, we're going to have these big healing breakthroughs. So love account is so important. We have a negativity bias. So our brains really stick with the negative stuff so much more. It has so much more impact. And so we want to make sure that we counterbalance that by really growing what's strong. There's this notion in positive psychology that rather than just fixing what's wrong, we want to grow what's strong. And we have found that to be true across the board. And it's true. We've had so many people over the years, again, so innocently and well-intended practitioners, but people that have gone elsewhere, and they come to our office to actually kind of repair from the damaging work that was done in other people's offices that just weren't trained in a relationship model. And so our aim is, most often when a couple comes to see us, and our methodology is that it's like a date night. So many couples are starving for more time together. And so they have so little time together. And so we want to make sure at sessions, maybe they come in annoyed, disconnected. If they leave, they're like, oh my gosh, I understand you so much more. Oh my goodness, you hear me. Oh my goodness, we can both get our needs met. I feel appreciated and seen. All the things that they walk out. So often couples will like pair their sessions with like, let's go out to dinner afterwards, because they feel so inspired and renewed and reconnected. Like, that's the methodology that we believe in. And growing the good is a really important part of it, and is just the most effective thing that we found.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, we just don't want to like focus on the problem too much. We dilute the problems by increasing the positives.
Yes. And we have here that relationships are living things. They are always either growing or dying. So we want to always be nurturing them. And, we're not suggesting again that we overlook the challenges. We are all for addressing them. We just want to do them in the most efficient, effective way possible, and make sure that we're also really nurturing and strengthening all the good. So here's one way that we love to do that with couples, is helping them create a strengths-based relationship. We are passionate about this.
We are very passionate about strengths-based relationships. And because we do have that negativity bias, where we tend to look for the problems, tend to look for what our partner isn't doing right. We tend to look for the ways they're not showing up in the way that we need them to. We want to train our brain in a very specific way of looking for our partner's strengths, looking for what they're doing that's contributing positively to my life, looking for the things about them that I want to be continuously appreciative and grateful for.
Yes. Yeah. We have a saying, if we kind of see the worst, we get the worst in them and in us. It's very stressful to look out in the world and just point out all the things our partner didn't do well enough and isn't getting right and could do better. And so again, those things are real. We want to find the things that matter the most to us and reserve those to have really intentional conversations around. Otherwise, we get to be continually on the lookout for what our partner is doing well and what our partner is doing right and what we want to appreciate them for, because so often a lot of the good things fall away in a relationship because we think it just doesn't matter. We're like, well, I don't know that you even appreciate it, so I'm going to just kind of stop doing those kind, thoughtful things. And so we want to be continually reinforcing the good, flipping over the coin and reestablishing, like, wait, that very thing that is very annoying or I find frustrating or discouraging, on the other side of it, maybe there's this incredible treasure, some other really amazing quality. I perceive my partner as being high strung, but oh my gosh, they're so sensitive and they're so ultra aware of other people's needs and really whatever it might be. We want to flip it back over and celebrate each other's strengths. So important. Okay, so that is key. Number 5 is to be growing the good as a coach. We don't just want to focus on fixating on the issue. We want to make sure we're also growing all the things that are beautiful and wonderful around it, and will create so much more resilience and so much more effectiveness. So, okay, so thank you so much for journeying with us for those 5 keys that are so important as relationship coaches to really avoid some of the mistakes that people can make, and also that just make such an enormous difference when it comes to effectively supporting people.
And we really are all relationship coaches, right? We're all modeling relationships for the people around us. We're a relationship coach in our own life, and for our partners. So, we really like this concept of, that, every neighborhood in the world needs a relationship coach, a thriving relationship coach, because it's needed everywhere. And, it really is like the basis of society. So, we encourage you to, check out our program if that feels right, but really just these 5 keys that, we've gone over tonight. If you, implement that information, I mean, that will send ripples through the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're going to share now for about 10 minutes a little bit about our Thriving Relationship Coach certification. We're about to start the next round of students, and just want to warmly welcome you to learn more. If you're kind of intrigued, like, wow, it would be so incredible. It's really We never expected to get into this professionally. And I am so, so immeasurably grateful because I can really think of, no, I mean, there's so many valuable skill sets. And I personally, I don't know if I can think of a more valuable skill set. It's like for the rest of my life, relationships of any kind, knowing how to navigate them effectively, such a gift. So just to have as a human, and this is for you, this program is for you. So maybe you're out there and you're like, gosh, I just don't feel very fulfilled and satisfied in my career. I long to do something where I don't have to leave my heart and soul at the door. I get to lead with my heart and feel, when I'm going to bed at night, like so satisfied from the difference that I'm making. I want to help alleviate suffering and maximize love and joy in the world and reconnect people and help people fall in love all over again and save marriages and transform families. And oh my goodness, the ripples upon ripples upon ripples of love. So if you're wanting just a brand new career, you could be an entirely different career right now, and you're wanting to take this leap into relationship coaching. This program is really designed so starting from the beginning, we teach you how to be a coach that gets results, and you're really doing this transformational work from the inside out. It's really 3 parts. You're doing your own personal transformation, and then you're learning how to powerfully support other couples and get repeatable, predictable breakthroughs every session. And then also how to grow this abundant, beautiful business that you love and gives you this lifestyle of freedom. There's really those 3 parts. So maybe you're starting out as a coach, or maybe you are a therapist, a counselor, a coach. And again, you see individuals and you want to be more skilled at how to really support couples. Maybe you're looking for a side gig. You kind of love what you do, but gosh, I'd love something else that feels really purposeful and fulfilling. This is wonderful. Maybe you just retired and you're looking for kind of a new purposeful adventure to embark on in the second half of life. And maybe you just want personal transformation. You're not sure that you want to do it professionally. We have lots of people that do it just for personal reasons. They want the immersive and they want to be able to help people in their lives, their kids, their friends that are continually asking them for support. And they're like, I don't really know how to help them. And they want that satisfaction of knowing how to skillfully do so. It is such a gift to be able to offer anybody in your life. So really, across the board, whether you're seasoned and experienced and want an absolute specialty, or if you're brand new.
Yes. Yeah. And, we find that couples really need it more than ever. Marriages, long-term romantic relationships have changed so dramatically over these past 70 years. It went from, in that kind of greatest generation, let's say in 1940s, 1950s, the expectations were that, hopefully, we like each other, but it's really, there's like such a practical reason to be married, right? And, it's somewhat related to, survival and, just getting someone who I can, count on to, take care of the kids or, pay the bills. And relationships are so different now. Like the level of expectations are so much higher than that, right? It's like, to be, providers and great co-parents and, empathetic and to be there for me when I need you and to be present and to be sweet and romantic and be a great sexual partner or lover. The list of expectations is greater than ever. And that's probably not going to stop because, the number of social relationships that we have has also decreased steadily since the 1940s. And, so we have less relationships than ever, and it puts more weight on, that our primary romantic relationship. So couples need this support more than ever. And, because of those higher expectations, it creates a more dynamic skill set. It takes a much more thorough toolkit for couples to do it well.
Yeah, people are just more open than ever to getting support in their relationship, which is really amazing. And being a thriving relationship coach, an analogy we sometimes use if people are hesitant, I don't want, we're not broken. It's like, oh my goodness, just if you wanted to get really skilled at playing piano or baseball, if you had a coach, you could just get results so much more quickly and efficiently and can really have the best relationship possible. So it tends to be much more inspiring for people, and people are just there's a greater need for it than ever, and people are more open to it than ever. And Bianca, thank you. But I'm in this certification. I highly recommend it. Thanks, CMB. Great extra midweek motivation. Love. Mwah. So much love to you, Bianca. It is so good to have you here. Okay, so the coaching industry is only growing. It's really an exploding industry. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's growing. And it's so important. There's so many coaches out there to really differentiate yourself. So, there are just generalized coaches, which is really lovely. And when someone wants help with their relationship, they really want support from someone that they know that they can fully trust. It is like the most precious part of their lives. It is such a tender, fragile time. And so they want to know that you have expertise in this area to really guide them. So without a doubt, when it comes to relationships, most people are only going to go to a skilled, trained relationship coach, and it will make you really stand out in the industry. And there are not enough relationship coaches out there. There are so many more people. We just keep growing and growing and growing. We have 14 practitioners on our team now because it was just Bret and I, and we have, in not that many years, it just keeps growing and growing and growing because there is such a need for it.
Yes. And one of the gifts of the pandemic was to make video conferencing completely normalized. All right. Everybody now has a pretty high comfort level with video conferencing. And for coaching, that is incredible. That opens up the market for clientele, expands it, way right from the local into the global. So you can really have a specialty, and you can draw in clientele from around the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. So people are willing to invest in their relationships. So just like there's more of a need for it than ever, people are more open to it. It's also such an important part of their lives. So, and you get to sincerely help them. So we believe in kind of a generosity-based business. It's not about sales. It's about really showing up powerfully to serve people. It's really all about serving people. And when you really serve people and you can really get them results, they're so happy. They're ultimately investing in themselves and having the greatest relationship imaginable. So it's such a beautiful thing to be able to believe in it so wholeheartedly, the results that you can get people. And people are often desperate for help. And divorces are so much more expensive, than a relationship coach. Without a doubt, sure. It's so much easier. It's so much more time efficient, and a lot less expensive. And usually the need is really immediate and urgent. And so when it comes to people getting help, if they're just going to see a coach that maybe can help them kind of improve peak performance, so wonderful. I'm all for the peak performance coaches out there. It's just usually a little less immediate. And sometimes their life isn't as dependent on it. And this feels like, oh my goodness, my life is dependent on this working. I need help, and I need help now, and I'm willing to invest in it. And so again, we didn't realize this going into it. We just wanted to help people and to experience more love and to get out of pain. And we wanted them to have the marriage of their dreams after we created our own really thriving relationship. And what we found is, it's actually really, really smart business to get into because people need support in their relationships. They're really lost, and they're absolutely willing to make that investment, which is wonderful. And they're looking for people just like you. So the more that we risk losing, the more willing we are to take action and invest. It just really is the case. Yeah, so it's a perfect time for it. So our relationship coach certification, it's a 6-month program. We have really, our intention going in is we wanted to really have the gold standard for relationship coaching. We wanted to empower and equip our coaches with the entire roadmap, the complete methodology. So the starting from not really knowing anything to get to show up and feel so confident, and just to be delighted and thrilled and inspired. People sometimes ask us, isn't it depressing to do the work you do? And I'm like, oh my goodness, it is the opposite. It is the most moving, heartwarming work, because we truly get to watch people open their hearts and find one another again and fall in love all over again. And that's what we love to share with our coaches. So you really learn, this is the entire skill set to get expertise in all things relationships. So communication, how to build secure attachment, how to grow the good and fill these love accounts, how to heal from things like affairs, how to reignite the spark and develop this conscious, thriving sexual connection. We really combine the science. We love to satisfy the left brain and understand just what's happening in the brain and the research that backs these things up. And then also we bring in, of course, the heart of relationships. That's one of the things that our students comment on a lot, is the amount of love and joy in this program. It's personally transformative. So every week there are different invitations for you to be applying these tools in your own life. It will really forever change how you see yourself and your partner. We have lots of people who are single who take it, or if you're in a relationship, relationships of all kinds, it will forever change who you are. You will become someone different through this, which is perhaps what we're as proud of as anything, is who people become through this program. And then, of course, the love that they pass along. You get to learn how to become a successful entrepreneur and how to have a business. I love teaching. So we do an 8-week business boot camp as part of it. We're in there live doing it all together. We're co-regulating together. So those things that stand in the way that you're like, oh, I'm dreading coming up with an online scheduler or client forms or my website or my bio or all these different things, we're all together live cheering each other on and actually completing it in these sessions together. And I love doing that so much, because the business side of it is like creative to me. And it's really, how do we just serve and reach more people? So I love getting to support you with that. What kind of sets this program apart is that we are a thriving couple who's been together 2 decades. And so we pull from our own experience, which is kind of unique, getting to learn from a couple. My background, I've been a coach for 19 years now, and energy healing and more kind of holistic healing. And then Bret is a licensed psychotherapist and social worker who's worked at the hospital and in clinical settings. So you really get that combined background of the coaching industry, energy healing, holistic, as well as the clinical setting. And a lot of people find that deeply, deeply valuable. And then, of course, the male and female perspective is really unique. You don't get that in most coaching programs. Yes. And it's so inclusive. That is really so dear to our hearts, and honoring and embracing of relationships of all kinds.
It's really a beautiful community to be part of.
And you can use that handy dandy purple QR code if you want to see the page where there's so much more information. So just to give you a sense of what it entails. So we have, it's 6 months, and every week there is a 2-hour training. So this is like a concrete training. We have slides and handouts, and you learn different tools every week and how to facilitate those tools, again, to get kind of predictable, repeatable breakthroughs, ahas, huge insights that couples are like, oh my gosh, you just made sense of our whole relationship. It's the best feeling to have couples say that to you. And we have couples, their first sessions that are getting those kind of responses from couples. They're like, we've been seeing a licensed therapist for so many years, and in this session we got so much more out of it. So we also lead a weekly Q&A call live with you. So any questions from the week, you can submit them ahead of time, and we answer them whether you're there live or not. We love connecting with you in this way. We have a weekly Heartner call. We call it Heartner. So that's when you come together with your other coaches and you get to practice the tools with one another. That's optional. There's always replays, slides of everything. We also have recorded sessions. We have couples that have been so dear to volunteer to share the most intimate moments that have been recorded of us actually applying the tools in a session. People have said that's one of the most helpful things, is actually see the tools come to life. So we have a library of those. You have the 50+ signature tools you won't find anyplace else, and you have the full rights to use them. You have full permission to use them, to replicate them in your practice. We usually are like, whatever spreads more love in the world, we are all for. And then I mentioned the business boot camp. Also, after you graduate, you get 6 months access to this incredible training with Scott Oldford, who's one of the lead kind of trainers of entrepreneurs. So if you want to create your global empire of relationship coaching, there will be no limit. That includes like weekly hypnotherapy sessions and all of it, ads, how to build a team, how to really scale your business. So we do kind of the foundational level, and then you have 6 months of just focusing on your business, totally for free and included. You'll be featured on our website. You get lifetime access to the course, all the goodies. There's so many testimonials people have graciously shared on the website. These are just students kind of starting off. Like, this class is changing my life. So many lessons I've learned about myself and others. One of the most wonderful things I've done. Here's someone who just learned, they applied what they learned so far within just these past few weeks. I helped a mother and daughter mend their relationship. So it's like how quickly you're going to start getting results with people. And then here we've shared just what people share about how it's changing, how they just show up for the world is so, so beautiful. Here's the sample sessions, madly scribbling notes, watching Bret move through the steps that were outlined in this week's training for a first session is brilliant. So we just kind of map out like step by step by step. Here's what you can do in a first session. Here's what you can do in the second session. And they're going to be wow filled, really awe-inspiring sessions. Here someone's like, just jump in and be brave. So awesome. I feel so happy we could help a couple. It was amazing. Enable them to see so many good things. As you can probably tell, I'm on a high. I haven't felt this alive for a while. It's so enlivening. So here we have a satisfaction guarantee.
Yeah, we really believe so wholeheartedly in this program that, it is, one of the best programs in the world. And it really sets you up to effectively work with couples, kind of on anything that kind of come through your door or any clientele that will come to you to work with you. Yeah, like you'll be prepared to effectively work with them. And we believe this so much that, we promise you, we have this 30-day guarantee where if you start the program and within 30 days, you're not fully satisfied, then we'll just give you a refund. So it's no risk for you.
Yeah, we truly just want to make sure that it fully supports you in whatever your dreams and vision and goals are. And this time, so here's the QR code, so you can scan it with your phone or you can go to that. And this time we are doing this actually for the first time, is that we're inviting people's partners to join them for free. So if you are in a relationship and this would be meaningful to kind of do this with your partner is welcome to join us. We just know the impact that has on who you'll be able to be as a coach. And so this is kind of a special round where we're offering that. So you'll see again at this link, you can apply. It just takes 10 minutes to apply. You can also go ahead and schedule a call. You'll see a little pop-up that comes there if you want to schedule a call to get all your questions answered. You'll be meeting with either Kate on our team, and people like comment about Kate, you'll feel like you're instantly her friend. It's like having a cup of tea with one of your good friends, and she'll just answer all your questions and walk you through it. And then here we have a special for those that are inspired, just to motivate you to really follow that calling in your heart. If you would love to do this, that you'll get an added discount if you either schedule a call. The call can be next week, but if you actually schedule that call between now and Sunday, or fill out the application, that you'll get an extra bonus there that we just want to offer.
Thank you so much. Your time is so incredibly valuable, and just giving us some of your time is the biggest honor. And so we, really wanted to try our best to make it worth your time, and to improve your life and improve the world. And we hope we've accomplished that. But thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you all so much. It says so much about you that you are here. It takes someone with a big heart to want to really know how to communicate in a different way, and how to support others in paving that way and opening that pathway where a lot more love and connection and fulfillment can flow. So
yeah, we the people, all the students and our team, everybody related to the Center for Thriving Relationships, we refer to us all as Team Love. And because it's we're just all here working together to make this world a better place. And so thanks for being part of Team Love for for an hour and a half or however long we've met. It's really good to have you here.
Yeah, it is such a gift and such a joy to be here with you. So if there's anything that we can do to support you, know that we are here for you. You can reach out, shoot us an email at any time. And we're just so grateful to be on this journey with you. So thank you so much for being in our community, and wishing you so many blessings, so many blessings on this journey. So big love and gratitude to all of you. And we look forward to staying connected. And we'll be doing another call where we also give you kind of a sneak peek behind the program, behind the doors as well. So know that there's no obligation. If you go ahead and apply or schedule a call, it's truly is like no pressure. It's truly, if this would support you in your calling, we are here to equip you with all the tools you need to fulfill your heart's calling. All right. Well, we look forward to connecting more, and thanks so much for being you in the world.
Big hugs.
Big hugs and so much love to you all. Thank you. Thank you.